I mean, it was unbelievable, really. There he was, in my arms, figure four headlock, like this, and oh, hello. I was just telling Mr. Toodles here how I used my cunning once to stop a jewellery thief in the jewellery quarter here in Birmingham. I used my cunning then, very much like the main protagonist in our next story. I'd like to read it to you if I can. It's called Die Hard. It's a children's classic. Once upon a time, in a land called the USA, a long, long time ago, there was an evil wizard from Germany called Hans Gruber. He was a very bad man. He did have a formidable beard, a nice smile, and sometimes a nice disposition, but ultimately he was a very nasty man. Hans Gruber had a gang of 11 followers, just like Robin Hood. They were called his henchmen. They were all just as nasty as he was, but they didn't have the same brain power, so rather than try to outmuscle Hans or take over the terror cell that they were part of, they all just followed Hans' orders. Hans and his henchmen didn't have very much money. You wouldn't have thought so, because they all dressed very nicely. But they were poor, so they decided they would rob the king, a man called Joseph Yonishobu, who had lots of gold in his bank vault at the castle Nakatomi Plaza, which was just like the actual Disney castle, apart from it was just one massive tower going straight up 35 floors, 490 feet. Although very impressive to the eye, the Nakatomi Plaza was still under construction, being built by the lowest bidder, no doubt, which incidentally is a bit of a risk in a town like LA, isn't it? Because it's built on the San Andreas Fault. But I digress. At the time that Hans and his gang of thugs decided to steal the gold from the vault, King Yonishobu was hosting a special ball for all the people in the land. It was a swell party. There were lots of cupcakes, and lots of the glitterati there were expecting Cinderella and the crystal shoes to turn up. A handsome prince called John McClane was travelling to the party in a horse and cart to try and repair his broken marriage to his wife Holly, who was also at the party. Princess Holly had beautiful hair, just like Rapunzel, apart from it was brown and not blonde, and it was shoulder length, not really long, and it was curly, it was almost nearly permed. It was amazing, absolutely incredible. It was a perfect visual metaphor for the 1980s, to be honest. Upon arrival at the Nakatomi Plaza, Prince John McClane was in awe at the sheer size of the building. He got the lift to the 30th floor. It's also worth noting at this point that actually before he was a prince, John McClane was a police officer. He was really good at arresting people and licensed to use a Nerf gun, and he never used it during dinner times. As the party got going, all the people danced the night away. Prince John and Princess Holly were reunited and immediately started arguing about their past. Meanwhile, the evil Hans Gruber and his gang of bad men arrived at the Nakatomi Plaza and slipped into the basement of the tower, disguised in the back of a donut van, ready to steal all the gold. Two of the nasty henchmen went to the hallway to take charge of the CCTV cameras. There was a security man there. He's like a policeman, but he didn't try as hard in school. He tried to stop the two nasty men by telling them to go away. But the henchmen, they were having none of it. And they used a really, really powerful Nerf gun to fire at the security man, and with a shot so accurate that it hit him right in the eye. The security guard was so shocked that he instantly fell asleep. Forever. Anyway, Hans Gruber and the rest of the bad men went up the lift to the 30th floor and stormed into the party like an angry Darth Vader, but without lightsabers. They're not real. They took all the people hostage, including the king. Hans Gruber demanded the special code to open the vault, but King Joseph Yonishobu wouldn't give him the secret code, much like your mommy and daddy won't tell you the code to their iPhone. So Hans Gruber shot the king in the eye with a Nerf gun, and then he too fell asleep forever. During the fracas, Prince John McClane managed to slip away into the ventilation system of the building, with the baddies chasing after him. Using all of his cunning, the Prince John McClane hid in the shadows of the top floors of the unfinished Nakatomi Plaza castle. He then proceeded to take down Hans's gang of evil henchmen by shooting them in the eyes with Nerf guns. They too would also go to sleep forever. The Prince John McClane tried his hardest to alert the police, but they thought that he was messing them around and he wasn't serious, like the little boy who cried wolf. However, they did end up deciding to send a police officer. It was Sergeant Officer Powell to go and help. By this point, John McClane had not only put to sleep 6 of the evil henchmen, he'd also stolen their powerful Nerf guns, he'd stolen all of their bombs, and he'd claimed one of their walkie-talkies. He'd also taken off most of his clothes, leaving himself wearing only his trousers and a vest and no shoes. With his walkie-talkie, Prince John McClane was able to taunt Hans Gruber like an evil older brother. But he did look incredible in that vest, muscles rippling, slightly sweaty. Hans is mad at this point. He's really mad, like Maleficent mad. Like the kind of mad when your parents shout at you and say, "Stop spinning around on the kitchen table, you're going to knock that glass of milk flying with your foot." And then you go and actually knock the glass of milk off with your foot. Hans is livid. He's desperate to stop Prince John McClane from ruining his plans to steal all the gold. The police are now in full force as well, running around like madmen, trying to get a handle on the whole situation. It's like when Andy's on his way back to the room in Toy Story and all the toys don't know what to do. The police decide to send in a specialist team called the SWAT team. They're sitting ducks, though, because they tried to go up the stairwell. And, I mean, any serviceman worth his salt knows that the higher ground always has the advantage. They make a hasty retreat after getting shot loads by the baddies and their Nerf guns, and some of the SWAT team fall asleep forever. Next, the police decide to turn off the power to the whole building. This is exactly what the evil Hans Gruber wanted to happen. With no power, the vault door springs wide open, and Hans was able to pinch all of the gold and then head to the roof to grab a helicopter and escape. Unfortunately, the evil Hans Gruber didn't count on Prince John McClane being as stubborn as he was. And, despite his marital differences, Prince John McClane also really wanted to make sure that his princess bride, Holly, was safe. With the standoff nearing the end, conveniently everyone ended up on the roof of the building. Hostages, the goodies, the baddies, and all the bombs. A helicopter flies in and lands to try and take Hans Gruber away, but John McClane is there and he puts the 2 remaining henchmen to sleep forever. There's an explosion. It's huge. It decimates the top of the building, which in hindsight looks brilliant on the cover of this book. And because he hasn't cheated death enough by this point, Prince John McClane evades the explosion by jumping off the building with a makeshift rope around his waist. Princess Holly screams for Prince John McClane, and at this point Hans Gruber realises they are in love, so he now uses her as a human shield. Face to face with his enemy, and with only 2 remaining pellets in his Nerf gun, he'd been running around too much to stop and pick any up, Prince John McClane now had a 1 in a million shot. He hit the evil baddie in the eye, and Hans Gruber stumbled backwards. Smash through the glass window he went, and fell all the way 30 stories to the floor, where he fell asleep forever. It's over. The Prince John McClane has saved the day. He's killed the baddie, saved the universe, and got the girl. Well, his wife, anyway. Anyway, back to the bottom of the tower our hero goes, where he meets and greets Sergeant Powell, who's been his ally. More people do fall asleep down here again, but I think there's been enough falling asleep in this story. Well, that's it. And it's now time for you to fall asleep. I hope you enjoyed Die Hard. It's my favourite. Hopefully it can be your favourite too. Good night. Sleep tight. How'd you like that, Mr. Toodles? So, the figure 4 head...